So, I mean, we're more about development rather than kind of results. That's kind of the biggest thing that we do. So, obviously, from our nines through to under 15s, it's kind of all non-competitive games now. Obviously, for the lads, they are competitive. They want to win everything that they play, and they, but for us, it's about how they perform and how they play. So, um, finding games that are going to test them. So we played the likes of Leicester and Wolves. We've got Man United and Spurs coming up. So we try and find as many really good games for the boys as possible that are going to really test them and challenge them and help them and allow them to put into practice the things they've been working on during the week. Then under 16s is a park competition. So they play about 8 games. They're competitive at the start of the season as a kind of small league. They've been struggling a little bit results wise. They're very young this year, so we've got a lot of under 15s playing in our 16s team because it's dual age group. But they've had a tough time with it in terms of it's been a real challenge, but they've played well at times and they've had some really good results. They beat Plymouth, which is always nice. And then the 18s, again, it's been a bit of a mixture for them. Really, we've had quite a few of our 18s out on loan this year, which is quite a new thing for us. Normally, boys wouldn't really be on loan until the second half of the season. But we've had boys playing on loan at the likes of Weymouth in the Conference South, which is fantastic. Players in the Southern Premier with Parkway and lads at Tavistock. So had some really good loans for those players, which has been important in their development journey. So in terms of that's been great. That then has a knock on in terms of how competitive they are in the Youth Alliance League. And again, even at that point, even though they're in the league, for us, it's more about performances, development, allowing the boys to kind of work on the areas of the game that hopefully are going to get them to the first team. So that's kind of the key thing. But yeah, they've done okay. They just missed out on qualification in a cup competition, the Premier League Cup, where we had Bristol City, Swansea, and Plymouth in our group, which was a really good group. All those games are really competitive. And then we're still in the Youth Cup at the moment. We've got the Youth Cup on Tuesday, Forest Green away. So a chance there to try and progress to the third round. So lots going on, but overall it's been a positive start to the season.
So with that Youth Cup, then obviously beat Newport County in the first round, the second round at Forest Green. It's going to be played at the new lawn. How important is that for the young players to play it in the stadium environment?
Yeah, I think it's really important. One of the really positive things actually is that, again, I'm not sure if you were there or you saw it, but for about 3-4 weeks ago, we had a first team game at Forest Green, which was obviously in the Papa John's Trophy. And in that squad, we had 10 academy products. And I think of those, 7 or 8 of them are current under 18 players that either started or played in that game. So, and that was obviously against Forest Green's first team / maybe a few of their kind of reserve players. But, in terms of that spectacle, playing against men and players such as Jimmy or Matt is a real task. So if anything, going there and playing against Forest Green's under 18s after many of them have played against first team players should have stood them in really good stead, really. They should be confident that they can go and put in a really good performance and hopeful they can progress to the next round. But obviously every game is very difficult and it's not going to be an easy game. They've got some good players. But exciting, and it's really important that opportunity to play in front of a crowd in the stadium, because it's different for their mentality in terms of preparing and dealing with a few nerves and we certainly saw that in the first kind of 10 minutes of the Newport game. And then after that, I thought for the first, the rest of that half and the first 10 minutes of the second half, I thought we were outstanding. And then obviously it fell away a little bit at the end, but held on. So really good experiences, really important for those boys and hopefully getting them towards the next level.
And ultimately, the goal is to get the players into the first team. This season, on a couple of occasions, there's been 7 academy graduates in the starting 11 for the senior side, and 8 schools have also made their debuts this season, which is a club record. It's brilliant at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's really exciting times. Full credit to the club in general in terms of how it's run and the fact that they give so much opportunity and kind of support to the academy. First team staff that were in place, for the last few years have been brilliant with us. And so far, Gary and Kev obviously worked in the academy, have been really good as well. So it's a massive part of this club. We're very lucky to have the amount of opportunity that we do to put players into the first team, but then they've also got to be good enough to do that as well and step up. So it's been a positive start. And I guess the thing is for us is we've got to keep working hard to ensure that we keep those standards high and keep having players that are capable of playing and obviously now it's League One football as well rather than League Two. So, but yeah, as you say, in terms of, I think your stat is, around 5.5 on average starting in the starting 11, which is half the team, isn't it? So not too many clubs are doing that, which is brilliant. But those are players that have come through over the last 10, 15 years. So now it's, working on making sure over the next 10 or 15 years, there's plenty more lads that can do that and hopefully play at higher levels, such as Ethan and Grimesy and Ollie and the boys that move on to the Premier League. Ben Crisanti, Alfie Pond, just starting their careers at Premier League clubs as well. So exciting times.
And like you say, exciting times it is for that. We've seen another record break in the season, and that is the fact that Ethan Ampadu has been called up to the World Cup for the first time. How does that make you feel from a club point of view, from the academy point of view, and from a supporter-owned club point of view? How big is that for you?
Yes, it's huge. We were talking about it in the office. To think of an Exeter player at a World Cup. We saw Ethan at the Euros, obviously, and he did really well, I thought. The World Cup's kind of the biggest stage, isn't it? It's huge, and it's a little bit of a shame that Ollie didn't quite have the form that he had last season, because we could have had two lads there. But even so, take nothing away from Ethan. He's had a slightly different path to some in terms of the fact he's had a number of loans over the last few years. But everywhere he's gone, he's done really, really well, and impressed the fans, impressed the pundits. He's been putting in some great performances. We keep track of how he's getting on, obviously. But yeah, for him to go and play in the World Cup, and I mean, again, I think they flashed up the World Cup squad on Sky Sports the other day, and it was going through the players and that age and the amount of games they played. And at 22, I think he's played like 38 games already for Wales, which is, again, ridiculous stats. It's fantastic, and fair play. All credit to Ethan and his attitude, his quality on and off the pitch. He's a brilliant individual. So we're very proud of him.
Was it obvious from a young age that he was going to go on and reach a World Cup?
You can never tell. If you're being really honest, you have players that come through that are exciting, players that have got a lot of potential. Ethan was certainly one of those. I think the first time I saw Ethan was, I think he was about 4 years old. He came to a Tiny Tot session when I was working for the Community Trust, and he actually cried at the session I was putting on. So obviously didn't put a very good session on. Kwame had to come across and take him away. Obviously the next time I kind of really came in contact was when he was 7. He came into the academy and was playing for the under-9s as an under-7, and finding it fairly comfortable. And throughout his time, he often played in older age groups, and then obviously coming through and kind of playing for the first team at 15. It's not something that happens very often. But it wasn't kind of just given to him. He deserved it. He earned it. With the way that he was applying himself. So in terms of Ethan, probably the biggest standout was kind of how mature he is. Especially, well, he's very mature off the pitch, but his maturity on the pitch is different to most players. You've seen players come through in the past that maybe can dribble past 7 or 8 players, which is, that's very difficult to do. And Ethan was able to do, similar things that. But what really stood out was his decision making. He played like a player that was far older than his years. So he would pass at the right time. He carried the ball forward at the right time. His positioning, when to see danger and making interceptions and last-ditch tackles. He was able to do everything. But the biggest thing was making the right decisions. It was, really rare to see something like that. So we always had really high hopes, and hopefully at some point he'll get an opportunity at Chelsea. Obviously it was great to see him in the Premier League at Sheffield United a couple of years ago. We'd love to see him playing regularly in the Premier League, and I think he's still only 22, so there's plenty of opportunity for that to happen.
And like I say, with Ethan and with Alfie and with Ben, it's important that when the opportunity comes, we allow our academy graduates to go and fly the nest.
I mean, I think it's about the right timing for each individual. You look at Ollie, and Ollie was obviously a established first team player before he went on to Brentford, in the Championship, and then on to Aston Villa in the Premier League. So that was the right thing for him. Again, Matt Grimes was similar in terms of played a lot of games for the first team before going on to Swansea that were at the time in the Premier League, and he's had a great career as captain there. So that was right for them. For Ethan, it was the right thing for him, to move at a slightly younger age. And he's straight away, I think as soon as he went to Chelsea as a 16-year-old, he was in and around the first team. He made an impression straight away in terms of the training. So that was right for him. But I think for every individual, it's just making sure that we give them as much opportunity as we can at the right times, and that they go at the right time. And equally, if a player plays the whole career at ExeterCity, that's a fantastic achievement in itself. It's not an easy feat to get into the first team of a League One or League Two club as we were previously. So it's picking the right time for each individual, and we want each boy to go and play as high as they can.
No, excellent. And obviously with Ollie on the fringes and Jay Stansfield in the England under-20 setup as well on a couple of occasions, do you think it'll be long until we see an Englishman at a World Cup or a major tournament?
Well, I think I've been to quite a few of the first team games this season and watched a couple on telly when they've been away from home, and I think Jay's been outstanding. His not only his work rate and his attitude, which is it's always there, but the amount of quality he's got. And so from, again, a lad that came into us at 7, again left us at 16 and was a very good player at that point, and also credit must go to Fulham as well, because he's really kicked on since then as well. But yeah, I've been really, really impressed with him, and I've heard a few of the fans saying they expect to see him in an England shirt as well. So I definitely wouldn't put it past him. He's doing fantastically well. I think EFL Young Player of the Month for October, I believe. I don't know if that's been announced yet, but if it hasn't, then early scoop on that one. But he's doing really well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, Ollie, I think certainly the last 2 or 3 games, he's put in some really good performances against Man United. Scored a great goal midweek and played really well in the home game in the league. So there's nothing to say that he can't, in 4 years' time, be at the top of his game as well.
And finally, then, with the new manager coming in, Gary Caldwell, has he spoken to you about a long-term commitment to the academy?
So Gary's sitting on our academy technical board meeting. So we have that every kind of 3 months, and he sat on that last week. He was really interested in what we're doing and kind of our plans moving forwards for the next. We normally kind of plan around 3-year cycles. So he was really interested to hear what we're doing on that. We actually had a meeting the following day off the back of it to kind of discuss further and kind of for him to have a look at what we're doing, and also have a few suggestions of how we might kind of incorporate some of his ideas. So, but everything seems really aligned in terms of the way that we do things and how he wants to. And I think that's obviously a large part of why the club are so interested in bringing him in, because they know the importance of young player development in the academy, and I think obviously he fits the mold for that. So it's been really nice spending some time with him, and great to see him make a really positive start as well with some good results over the last few weeks.
And with the facilities coming in as well, paid for in part by the club and in part by the trust, it's an exciting time for the academy as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, again, you look at obviously there's been a fantastic return on investment from the academy over the last 10 years. The amount of boys that have come through and not only kind of moved on and brought in fees in terms of either transfer fees or compensation fees, but also players in the first team that that is really valuable. It's more economical to play your own players and to have to go and kind of find established professionals from elsewhere. So it's provided a lot of return on investment in that sense, and it's been great. But that's due to the opportunity and the support we do get from the club as a whole. And again, look at Matt Grimes moving and a huge part of his income going towards putting the 3G at the training ground in 2016, and that's just been a game changer for us. It's been massive. And now obviously with some of the money that's coming for Ollie Watkins going towards this new building, and we had a look around it last week, had a sneak peek, and it's going to be really, really impressive, and it's going to hopefully give us even more opportunity to bring more boys through and support them across into that first team and beyond, and also for the first team hopefully to attract players to come in as well, because it will be a top facility, one that I'm sure a lot of clubs at League One level will be jealous of. So exciting times.